Chapter 1. Unexpected Encounter on Museum Island. Stella drifted among the neoclassical columns of the Altes Museum on Museum Island, studying the marble busts under fading daylight. She'd come to sketch an upcoming exhibition layout, alone and immersed. From behind a column came a low pulse of house music. Mike slipped out, headphones around his neck, sweaty from a rooftop set he'd DJ'd earlier. Their eyes met. He offered a shy grin, lost in history, or looking for something more modern? She blinked. Both, I suppose. He stepped closer, voice soft. There's a hidden courtyard across the spree. They say the light at dusk feels electric. She hesitated, then smiled. Show me. They walked across the blue bridge, the river reflecting gilded sky. As they entered a vine-covered cloister, he reached for her hand. Her pulse leapt. I'm Mike, he said.
Stella.
He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. She inhaled his warmth, his scent, an electric promise. Chapter 2. Velvet Shadows at the East Side Gallery. That evening, Mike led Stella to the East Side Gallery, the longest remaining Berlin wall segment, painted in vivid defiance. Neon lights from nearby bars flickered on graffitied panels. He pressed her against the wall, lips barely brushing her ear. Art should provoke, he murmured. She melted against him. And what provokes you? His mouth found her collarbone. You. She wound her arms around his neck. He responded with a fierce kiss, heavy with need. His hands roamed beneath her blouse, gentle then urgent, discovering the soft planes of her back. They moved in unison, breathless and tangled, the walls art watching their private performance. When they broke apart, her cheeks were flushed. Dinner, she whispered. He only smiled, hands still on her hips. Chapter 3. Camelot Confessions in Kreuzberg. In Kreuzberg, they found a dim tapas bar lit by candles in repurposed wine bottles. They shared patatas bravas and Rioja, stories of childhood rebellions and artistic dreams spilling between sips. Mike traced a finger along the rim of Stella's glass. I DJ under a different name. Nobody at work knows. Her eyes danced. People think I have no secrets. He leaned in, voice husky. Show me yours. She tilted her head. Then first yours. What's the song you play when you need to feel alive? He tapped his phone, and his own pulsing track filled the space. The rhythm vibrated through her body. Without hesitation, Stella stood, draped one leg over his knee, and pressed her mouth to his. In the candle's glow, her dress whispered over her thighs. Mike's hands slid up her legs, under silk, to her waist, solid, insistent. They shared a slow, indulgent kiss, taste of wine, promise of more. When at last they paused, only 2 candles flickered in witness. Chapter 4. Midnight Spree Boat. Mike chartered a private spree boat that drifted through the city's heart at midnight. Berlin's cathedral and Reichstag domes drifted into view, under swaths of pale moonlight. Stella pressed against him on a cushioned bench near the prow. He draped a blanket over her shoulders. I love how light plays on water, she said. He brushed her hair from her face. Show me how it plays on you. Their eyes locked. Without a word, he lifted the hem of her dress, first a tease, then determined. Her heart pounded as he traced lines of skin with reverence, fingertips teasing the curve of her hip. Stella leaned back, moaning softly as his hand glided between her thighs, cool night air mixing with heated arousal. She reached for him, pulling his shirt aside, plating her hands on the warmth of his chest. He kissed every inch of her skin, thighs, waist, neck, until her breath caught and her fingers tangled in his hair. Their rhythm built until she pressed against him in release, waves of pleasure echoing on the gentle wake behind the boat. When they finally composed themselves, the city's lights shimmered like silent applause. Chapter 5, Secrets and Silken Sheets. Back at Mike's loft in Friedrichshain, he lit incense. Stella slipped between silken sheets as he drew the curtains against dawn's intrusion. They lay entangled, heart slowing. Mike studied the contours of her face. "Tell me something I don't know." She smiled mischievously. "I've never been this reckless." He grinned. "Neither have I. You make me forget to be safe." Her hand traced the line of his jaw. "Do you ever worry?" "Only that it'll end." She pressed her lips to his. "What if it never has to?" Their morning unseries began slow, touches light as a whisper, kisses that deepened with every inhale. Mike's hands learned new maps on her body. Stella discovered secret paths on his skin. No words, just the quiet music of two people finding grounding in each other.
Chapter 6. Sønriset var hos at Brandenburg gate.
At first light, Mike led Stella to the Brandenburg Gate. Berlin slept as they approached the silent monument. He stopped beneath its columns and took her hands, cold in his palms.
Stella, im no puedo.
"But I have one promise. When I'm with you, I'm most myself." Her eyes brimmed. "I've guarded my heart so carefully." He tucked a cuff of hair behind her ear. "I guard it too, but only because I want it safe with you." He bent and brushed her knuckles with his lips, then slipped a thin silver band, etched with the skyline of Berlin, onto her finger. She gasped softly. "A promise?" He nodded, voice steady. For each sunrise and each midnight, Stella leaned in, kissing him with devotion and hunger, two sides of the same coin. Behind them, the gate watched as if approving this new union forged under dawn's first glow. Chapter 7. Morning light in Prenzlauer Berg. Late Saturday morning, Stella and Mike wandered the leafy streets of Prenzlauer Berg, chasing the scent of fresh coffee and baked pretzels. They slipped into a sunlit cafe, where vintage cameras and Art Nouveau posters lined the walls. Mike ordered 2 flat whites and a slice of honey-topped cheesecake. While they ate, he leaned in and traced a dripping V-shaped stain across her hand with his fingertips. Slow, deliberate. Stella laughed, the warmth in her eyes rivaling the sunlight. "You're impossible," he smiled, brushing his thumb over her pulse point. "I preferred irresistible." Their lips met over warm mugs. When she finally pushed away, her cheeks were flushed, and for the first time, she reached down and tugged at his waistband under the table, sending a jolt through both of them. They finished breakfast in whispers and stolen kisses, the city outside oblivious to their private excitement. Chapter 8. Under the strobes at Knack Club. That night, Mike took Stella to an underground Kreuzberg club pulsing with trance and techno. The dance floor was a sea of bodies. Strobes carved shadows across Mike's face as he DJ'd behind the booth, her eyes never leaving him. When his set finished, he descended into the crowd and guided her to a glassed-off VIP booth behind red velvet curtains. Inside, a single pendant light swung overhead. He pushed her gently onto a plush leather couch, music vibrating through the floor. With urgent kisses, he undid her blouse buttons one by one. The strobes outside flashed silver across her bare skin. Stella arched into him, breath quickening. Mike's hands roamed beneath her skirt, exploring curves as the beat throbbed through them. She clutched his shoulders, lost in the pulsing rhythm and the heat building between their bodies. They paused only long enough to whisper each other's names, then dove back into each other with fierce, electric hunger. The music rose to a climax just as they did, two bodies moving as one in the neon night. Chapter 9, Secrets Beneath the Surface. In the days that followed, an unspoken tension crept in. Stella sensed Mike withdrawing into moments of distraction, late-night calls, closed-door whispers, an occasional far-off look in his eyes. One evening, she found his phone unlocked on the kitchen counter, a news article titled, "Tech Whiz DJ's Startup Acquired Overnight." The headline referred to Mike's day job, a lucrative buyout he'd never mentioned. Stella's heart pounded. Had he hidden this from her? She confronted him later on his balcony, overlooking Berlin's skyline. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded. Mike's face fell. "I wanted to protect what we have. I thought if you knew I had wealth, I'd lose the real you." Her eyes brimmed. "I fell for the man, not the money." He took her hands, thumb brushing away a tear. "I'm sorry. I never meant to lie." Their embrace was raw and urgent. They kissed with the need to rebuild trust, and Stella whispered against his mouth, "Tell me everything." Chapter 10, Confessions at Tempelhoferfeld. The next day, Mike led Stella to Tempelhoferfeld, the old airfield turned park. They lay on a faded parachute blanket, wind stirring the grass around them. Mike spoke of lonely midnight coding sessions, of the blindsided shock when investors came knocking, of the fear that money would change him. Stella shared her own insecurities, why she'd hesitated to trust any man, how her mother's betrayal once taught her to build walls. They held each other on the windswept field, tears and laughter mingling. Then Mike slid a hand beneath Stella's shirt, pressing kisses along her spine. "Show me you again," he whispered. She turned, pulling him close. They made love in the open air, the horizon stretching wide, as their confessions gave way to a tender, fervent union. Two souls laid bare beneath Berlin's vast sky. Chapter 11, Farewell at the Spree. On their final night, Stella and Mike returned to the banks of the Spree where they first truly connected. The river's dark surface glistened under a pale moon. Mike had prepared a small picnic, champagne, strawberries, and the silk scarf he'd once used as a blindfold. He draped it over Stella's eyes, his fingers trailing down to her waist. "Trust me," he murmured. She nodded, heart racing. He guided her to the water's edge and pressed her against a sculpted stone balustrade. Stella felt the cool night air on her naked back as Mike's lips followed a deliberate path, earlobe, nape, shoulder blade, before his touch became urgent, warm, and consuming. They moved together in a rhythm echoing the river's flow, steady, deep, unending. When they both trembled in release, Stella opened her eyes to find Mike's face inches away, illuminated by lantern light from a passing boat. He captured her lips in a final kiss and whispered, "No matter where we go next, this city, and you will always be my home." They watched the Spree carry their reflections downstream, knowing their midnight murmurs in Berlin would echo in their hearts forever. Chapter 12, Flatshare Rituals. Weeks after their Spree farewell, Stella moves into Mike's airy Friedrichshainloft. They settle into routines, morning coffee brewed with care, shared playlists for cooking, and rituals of touch, light kisses as he passes her in the hallway, her fingertips grazing his lower back as he writes code at his desk. One evening, Stella surprises him with a softly lit bubble bath in the oversized tub. As she pours warm water around him, he sinks in with a sigh. She lets the bubbles spill over his chest and begins washing him, her hands tender but insistent. He returns the favor, lathering soap along her arms and shoulders. The city hums outside, but inside, they rediscover that everyday closeness can be its own aphrodisiac. Chapter 13, The Berlin burnout. Mike's startup hits a crunch. Endless deadlines, investor calls at odd hours, and the constant hum of servers. He's exhausted, skipping their date nights, too wired to relax. Stella tries to help, bringing him smoothies and late-night snacks, but he snaps one evening. "I can't focus on love right now," he blurts, guilt and stress warring in his eyes. Stella's heart cracks. She steps back softly. "I see you," she says, "even when you can't see me." She kisses his temple and leaves him to rest. That night, Mike wakes to find her sketchbook on his desk, a watercolor of him asleep at his keyboard, gentle and vulnerable. He realizes she's been loving him through the chaos. He takes her hand when she returns and pulls her close, promising to find balance. Their reconciliation is slow. Soft kisses, whispered apologies, and long embraces that remind him why he fights so hard. Chapter 14, Masks and Mirrors. For Berlin's famous carnival der Kulturen, Stella and Mike don elaborate Venetian-inspired masks. They parade through colorful streets, dancers and drummers pulsing around them. Their costumes, hers in crimson velvet, his in midnight blue brocade, hide their faces but ignite a new spark of playful seduction. Behind a mirror installation in Gorlitzer Park, Mike presses Stella against a reflective panel. Through the mask, her eyes shine with mischief. His hands roam the curves of her hips over the velvet gown. She teases him with whispered dares. "Find me in the crowd." He answers by tasting her lips through the mask, their bodies swaying to the drumbeat. When they finally slip away to a quiet alley, they peel off masks and clothes, discovering each other anew beneath the festival lights. Chapter 15, Confession at Tempelhof. Late one rainy night, Stella finds Mike on the empty runways of Tempelhof Feld, staring into the distance. She approaches quietly. He doesn't turn. "I'm scared," he admits. "Scared that I love you so much I might lose you." She sits beside him in the cold grass. "I'm scared too, but I'd rather risk losing myself in you than lose you to distance or time." They hold hands as rain begins to fall, then stand and laugh, breathless, dripping. Mike presses her against his leather jacket, kisses the rain from her hair, and whispers promises into the storm. Their lovemaking on the tarmac is urgent and free, raindrops mingling with their sighs, sealing a deeper level of trust. Chapter 16, A New Dawn. Months later, they wake before sunrise to kayak the Spree, mist rising like steam around them. Paddles glide silently through calm water. Stella's head rests on Mike's shoulder. He points out the city's landmarks emerging in pale dawn. Back on shore, Mike takes a small box from his pocket and opens it. 2 silver bands engraved with intertwined waves. "Stella," he says, voice steady, "our love has weathered storms, deadlines, festivals, and endless nights. Will you keep paddling beside me through every dawn?" Tears in her eyes, Stella slips the rings onto both their fingers. "Always," she answers. They embrace as the first sunlight warms the water, partners ready for whatever currents lie ahead. Chapter 17, The Startup Gala. Mike invites Stella to a glamorous tech gala at the Brandenburg Gate. She steps out in a sleek black dress, he in a fitted tux. The red carpet flashes as they arrive hand in hand. Inside, investors buzz around Mike, praising the latest software release. Stella stands a little to the side, clutching a champagne flute. She watches him laugh and take calls, her throat tightening. Later, he finds her on a balcony overlooking the crowd. Without a word, he pulls her close, kisses the top of her head, and whispers, "You're my greatest success." She presses her lips to his collarbone. Then, "Don't let me fade into the background." Back inside, they slip away to a darkened corner. Under soft uplighting, Mike undoes her earring, slides it off her lobe, and trails kisses down her neck. Their embrace is both a celebration and a reclamation of each other, passion reignited amid swirling confetti and congratulatory glances. Chapter 18, The Berlin Burnout, Part 2. Weeks later, Mike's workload doubles. Late-night coding sessions return. Stella feels the old distance creeping back. One morning, she wakes to find him asleep at his desk, face pale under fluorescent lights. She brushes his hair back, heart aching. That evening, she surprises him with flyers for a couple's massage class at a nearby spa. He sighs, exhausted, but takes her hand. Lead me. In the Camelot treatment room, they learn to need tension from each other, muscle by muscle, breath by breath, reconnecting skin to skin. As the masseuse leaves them to practice, Stella leans over Mike's back, whispering instructions from the instructor. His sighs turn to laughter, and then want. By the end, they collapse in the upturned massage table space, ache and relief mingling, and Mike murmurs, "Thank you for never giving up on us." Chapter 19, The Invitation. Stella receives an envelope, cream stationery embossed with gold, an invitation to curate a modern art exhibit in New York. It's a career milestone she's dreamed of, and a test for their future. That night, she brings the invitation to Mike. The loft is quiet, except for the hum of distant traffic. Mike studies the card. "This is incredible." She nods, voice trembling. "But it's in New York. A year. I don't know how to say no." He steps close, tucks the invitation in her coat pocket, and kisses her temple. "Then say yes, if this is your dream. I'll find a way to be with you." Tears fill her eyes. "Even if that means leaving Berlin?" He brushes her cheek. "I'll follow you always, but only if you want me there." Their bodies press together as they reclaim the moment, passion tempered by hope. Chapter 20, Berlin's Last Kiss. On Stella's final night before departure, Mike recreates their first meeting. Dusk on Museum Island. He brings a single red rose and a portable speaker playing the track he first shared. Stella arrives in a long coat. The cold air makes her cheeks pink. He holds out the rose. She smiles, surprised. He leads her to the same column, wraps her in his arms, and kisses her like he's trying to memorize every inch. Under the ancient stones, they undress only enough to feel skin on skin. Their kiss deepens. His hands trace her spine as her arms loop around his neck. As dawn approaches, they breathe each other in, then part, her coat closing over bare curves, his fingers lingering on her cheek. Their last kiss in Berlin is promise and pain, both tasting of eternity. Chapter 21. New York's First Dawn. Stella arrives in New York at sunrise. Exhausted but exhilarated, she steps out onto the rooftop of her new Soho loft. Behind her, a familiar voice. Mike, with a single suitcase and a grin. He holds out his hand. "I'm here." She laughs, relief flooding her. "I knew you would be." He wraps his arms around her, pulling her close as the skyline glows pink. They kiss, slow, certain, a vow that distance cannot unravel. Below them, the city awakens. Above them, two hearts beat as one, ready to write their next chapter together.